your vlogging life easy. So we're gonna find out if that's true. So in this video, we're gonna find out how good is this just right out of the box and without any picture profile and complex stuff like that, so that for an average user like you and me, can we use it right out of the box and start recording and see where this camera shines and where it lacks performance. Alright, so this is right out of the box. I have not adjusted any setting at all. I just put into movie mode. I don't even know if it is shooting at 24 frames per second or not. We will take a look. Looking at right now is the colors and the eye autofocus. I can see that it's right on my eyes, the focus, and it's doing a great job tracking. So I'm just standing right in front of the window, that's why the shade is just trying the highlights and stuff like that. But color wise it looks very natural, it doesn't look like a Sony color, so I'm pretty impressed. And I have already used it for 2 days now, so I'm gonna show you guys what it is inside so that you get an impression when you get the box what comes with it. So the first thing when you open the box are the manuals up, and then you will see all the stuff inside. So the camera is right here, so let me take that out. So you get the camera with this nicely packed. Take out the camera, it just looks like this, and the back, and it has a flippy screen. Charger, this is the micro USB to USB. So you have a HDMI port, multi-function port, and a mic port. So use multi-function port to charge your battery, and you use this cable to charge it up. So at the bottom of the camera you have the tripod mount, and then you have this where you put in your SD card as well as the battery. So let's do that. The battery it comes with is a really tiny battery. It's called the Sony NP-BX1 battery. Apart from that, you also get this dead cat so that you can put it on top of the mic. It has a cold shoe mount on the side, so it just fits in properly. Alright, let's first put the battery in, and the battery goes in like that. Where the green arrow is, it just goes in like that. And then if you have an SD card, you want to put in the SD card at the back and then close it up. We will put that up in a minute, but I just wanted to show you some features. So on the top you have the cold shoe mount, so just slide it out so you can put the dead cat fur in place right there. So this is the microphone. When you put this in, it will cover the microphone port. So it's pretty good. It just slides in there like that. You're all set to rock and roll with the camera. After you put in your battery and the SD card, only thing you have to remember to set it up is turn on the camera, set the language, in this case English for me, select your region and set the date and time. That's all you have to do to get going. But also what I did is, from selecting the mode, I selected movie mode and start recording. When you get the camera, you just flip open the screen like this. It automatically turns on. That is the fun part. When you close this, that's awesome. So you don't have to worry about pressing the on and off button on the top. Rather, you just flip open, and then it turns on. When you're done, close it and it just turns off. Second feature is defocus. So when you flip this open, and if you put something in front of it, so it's like this camera. So when you put something in front of it, it immediately focuses on the product. That's the same case with the Sony. There is a button on top here. You can press this one to have things in focus. So when you put something in front of the camera, it focuses on that rather than focusing on the eyes and stuff like that. So if you're showing off something like a product on the screen like I'm doing right now, then it immediately focuses on the product and defocus the background. So that's a feature on the high-end camera like the one that I'm using right now, which is a Z100 Mark II cinema camera. I'm glad to see that that's incorporated on a smaller point and shoot camera. Alright, number 3 is the function menu. So on Sony system, when you have the camera like this, it is so hard to go through the functions one by one because there are a lot to cover. So this function button on here, you press on that, it cycles through the top functions quickly. So if you know where your things are already, so you just don't have to go from left to right, you can just jump onto function through the top function layer, which is a feature in A7 III and full frame camera. and even in the flagship A6600 they have not included that feature. So I'm glad to see in a tiny camera like this they have incorporated that feature. It saves a lot of time when you start using the camera. Alright, staying on the menu, another feature in this camera is under the menu number 1 under page 10, soft skin effect. It is a wonderful thing. You just have to be careful that if you're using S-Log2 or S-Log3 or other picture profile, make sure to turn it off, otherwise you get some weird artifact. Otherwise in auto mode you just use this soft skin tone and it will cover up all the wrinkles and pores on your face. It is a good thing that they included this. I have not seen this in any other camera, but this is pretty good for those who are doing makeup tutorials or things like that where they have to focus on the face and don't want to show all the wrinkles and lines and stuff like that. Number 5 is gyro stabilization. This is a camera where you can run with it, and there is a software on the Sony side. It's called the Catalyst Browse software. You can bring that footage into that and then stabilize it like a gimbal. It's a pretty good feature that you can utilize in your favor. I have A7 III and IBIS, and you can't do that kind of a stabilization what you get from this camera using the gyro stabilization. So that's a wonderful feature to have this in a tiny compact camera like this. Number 6 is slow motion. So this camera has wonderful slow motion up to 980 frames per second. So in this camera you go to the menu number 2, and the first option you see down there is the HFR effect. So you just select that. That's where you would set your frame rate. You can have 240, you can have up to 960 frames per second using the slow motion option. So in order to enable that, you select your frame rate in this option 1 in here, and for time being I'm using 240, and I would use 24 frames per second to play it back. But in order to access that when you're shooting, all you have to do is press on the mode bar here. So this button here which says mode, so press on that, then you get an option on the screen like this, and once you have set up your HFR, this is how you would select. So go to select HFR. You would have additional option to set manual exposure or aperture priority. Then select that, and then you're ready to shoot. If you want to shoot slow motion 240 frames per second or up to 960, that's how you get to that option using the mode menu. Okay, number 7 is the mode dial. So in typical DSLR and other cameras, you will have a mode dial to select movie, picture, aperture priority, and sorry about that, the light outside is changing. I'm just sitting right in front of the window and shooting this, so that's why I had to adjust the exposure here. But anyway, in other cameras you would get some mode dial to select your movie mode or camera mode, or select from manual to aperture priority, things like that. But on this camera we don't have that mode. As you can see, all you get is a mode button. So when you press on the mode button, that's where you would select your options. You have to cycle through the different options from that mode dial. So you can select movie mode, panorama, and scene, and memory recall. Those are the things that you can get through the mode dial. So obviously where this camera shine is in situation like this, where you're just vlogging and you're doing your thing. You're setting your camera to auto and just want to record your day as it goes by. That's where this camera belongs, and that's where Sony has positioned this camera as a vlogging camera. Alright, I just turned on the ND filter, and let's continue to talk about this camera. So once you set things to auto and set the ND filter on throughout the day, I think that's the perfect setting for this camera. And if you're vlogging and just trying to record your day as it goes by, then it's ideal because you don't know what the lighting situation is, how things are gonna change. So set the camera to auto and let the camera do its job, rather than you worrying about capturing a cinematic setting, right? Because leave it up to those big mirrorless cameras with lenses and stuff like that. It's good that Sony is marketing this camera as a vlogging camera, and with the price point, it's definitely for those who are just getting into YouTube and making videos and stuff like that. It's not a professional camera, but for the price you can almost compete with the quality of a professional camera. And as an option, you have all those features that you have in a big expensive professional camera that Sony has, and you can learn with this camera for a much cheaper price. Pretty nice fall day today. You can see the colors, and obviously this camera is doing a good job with auto because you can see me as well as the colors behind it. So even without the complex picture profile and settings like that, you can get good results with the auto setting. Just remember to turn on the ND filter during the morning time. So that's all you have to do, and think about it, and you're all good to go. And the good thing is it has gyro stabilization, so if you want to stabilize your footage after the fact, you can do that. And even some of the high-end camera like the A7 III don't have gyro stabilization as of now, so you're getting more features for way less money, so that's for sure. Alright, so every camera you have to use it to its strength, right? You don't want to use this camera for shooting S-Log2 and S-Log3. Yes, you definitely have the features available for you to play around, but I think because of the size of the camera, maybe the processing and the features and sensors are slightly different compared to mirrorless. So I think where this camera shine is if you use it as auto and let it do its stuff, because if you want to do complete manual and use picture profile and stuff like that, you may have to turn off certain other features like face softening, that thing. Otherwise, in my testing, I found it extremely different because it kind of makes the image a little bit different than how you would get with the mirrorless full frame camera with those picture profiles. So use it to its strength and use it for auto and with the ND filter and stuff like that. Don't use it to don't make this a professional camera with S-Log and stuff like that. It can definitely do it, but it's not gonna be ideal, even the picture quality. Alright, I think we will stop right now, and we will talk again when I get back to home. This is the second test. I'm outside. Right there, the sky is so bright and I'm in the shade, so we are just testing out to see how well it lights me in the shade versus the background, which is very bright. By default, out of the box, the setting is high definition 60 frames per second, so you can slow it down in the editing process. But I changed the setting back to 24 frames per second and 4K. That way it's ideal cinematic frame rate. Right now I changed the mode to S-Log3 so that I have dynamic range, the best dynamic range that I can get out of this camera. Still, the sky is a little bit on the overexposed side, but at least I can try and see how much I can recover. Alright, right now I am in S-Log2. I turned off the soft skin thing off because in S-Log3 it looked weird, so I think there is something wrong with that. So anyway, so right now I am in S-Log2. I cranked up the saturation to 32. I brought down the ISO to instead of auto, I put it to 1000, and in S-Log2 for this camera, I think that's the minimum I can go, 1000 ISO. Yeah, I think that's all I changed. The S-Log2, the skin softness, that is turned off, and we will see how this looks like. Hopefully this looks better. Alright, so this is where the camera, like the full frame camera with the lens, comes into play, because you can actually attach the lens and an ND filter and go from all the way dark to get that sky and overexposed image to all the way bright without changing any other parameters. So This is how EOS R with 15 to 35 lens looks like. Alright, so let's conclude this video. Who is this camera for? So if I'm just starting out and I want to start a YouTube channel or record something for social media, not just serious yet but want to capture, I think I would trust this camera to do that job perfectly well. You have this inbuilt microphone right here that has some wind protection, so you can take it out, and it's a small footprint. So if I have to carry it around, I can always put it in my jacket pocket and voila, it's there. Nobody's gonna notice. So even if you look at some of the smallest camera like Sony has, this is the Sony A6600, and you can see it's still big compared to something like this, right? So if you look at the footprint with the lens, you can see how compact and tiny this thing is. You can take it along with you anywhere, even if you're going for shopping, if you are in any places where you don't want to grab attention, in airport or hospital, wherever you are, make you more comfortable to use this camera, and the people around you also will not look at you as if you're shooting something more serious. And overall, I would say this is best value for money if you're just starting out in YouTube or in general recording videos. You know, start with this and you will get awesome results, almost as professional quality results. I would highly recommend you to check this out. This is the Sony Zv1. I will put the link in the description. I think right now it's selling for $100 less than what it was initially launched. Hope it helped, and if not, at least it was entertaining and informative. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos like this. Alright, see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.